I woke up to the sound of someone breathing in my room, not the soft, sleepy breathing of a friend or a family member. This was slow, heavy, intentional. For a few seconds I lay perfectly still, hoping it was just my imagination. My heart was already pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. But then, it got closer. I could hear the slight whistle of air through a nose, the wet click of a dry mouth swallowing. I wanted to sit up, grab my phone, do something. But my body wouldn't move. I was frozen in place, every muscle locked in fear. The sound stopped. The room went silent. And just when I thought maybe I'd imagined it, a shadow moved across my wall. That was the moment I knew. Someone was in the house. I should probably tell you where this all happened, so you understand why it still scares me to this day. This wasn't in some crowded apartment building or a noisy city street. I was staying at my cousin Leah's house, a small, weathered place tucked deep into the woods of northern Maine. The kind of place where your nearest neighbor is over a mile away, and when night falls it feels like the entire world just disappears. The house itself sat on a patch of cleared land, surrounded by pine trees so tall they blocked out most of the moonlight. Behind it was a steep hill that led down to an old, half-collapsed barn, and beyond that, nothing but forest for miles. It was mid-October, the air already sharp with cold. Inside, the wood stove cracked and popped, the only sound besides the wind, at least until that breathing started. The night had started out normal, quiet, even kind of cozy. Leah and I had been in the living room wrapped in blankets, watching some old horror movie we'd found on a streaming site. We weren't paying much attention to the plot. Mostly we were joking about the bad acting and stuffing our faces with popcorn. Around 11, we decided to pause the movie and make some hot chocolate. We sat at the kitchen table, scrolling through our phones and talking about random stuff. School, friends, the usual. Every so often the wind would rattle the window panes, but out here, that was just background noise. There was no electricity out at the barn anymore, so the backyard was pitch black. If you looked out through the kitchen window, it was like staring into a wall of nothingness. We didn't think much of it then. We had no idea that somewhere out in that dark, empty yard, someone was already watching us. It was sometime after midnight when we heard it. Just a faint crunch like a footstep on frozen leaves. Leah froze mid-sentence and looked toward the back window. "Probably a deer," she said after a moment, forcing a laugh. But I could see the way her fingers tightened around her mug. We tried to ignore it, but then it came again. Closer this time. I went to the window, but all I saw was blackness. No shapes, no movement. Just the faint reflection of my own face staring back at me. Leah suggested we lock the doors. Not because she believed anything was wrong, but, just in case. So we did. We went back to the couch, pressed play on the movie, and tried to act normal. But every few minutes I thought I saw something flicker past the edge of the window. And then, during one of those quick glances, I swear, I saw a pale hand press against the glass. I blinked, and the hand was gone. At first I thought maybe it was my own reflection playing tricks on me. But then came the tapping. Slow, deliberate taps against the glass. 3 in a row. Pause. Then 3 more. Leah muted the TV. We both sat there, holding our breath. The tapping stopped, replaced by a faint dragging sound, like something sliding along the outside wall. We moved to the kitchen, trying to follow the noise. That's when the smell hit us. Faint at first, like damp earth, but growing stronger, sour, almost metallic. It seeped in through the cracks of the old wooden frame around the back door. Leah whispered, "We should call my dad." But her phone had no signal. Neither did mine. We stood there, too scared to move, until something slammed against the far side of the house, hard enough to rattle the dishes in the cabinets. It wasn't the wind. We both knew that. And then came the sound of footsteps on the back porch. The footsteps stopped just outside the kitchen door. My heart was pounding so loud I thought it might wake the dead. I grabbed the nearest object I could find, a heavy cast-iron skillet, and held it like a weapon. Leah clutched a rolling pin, eyes wide with fear. Then the doorknob rattled. Slowly. Deliberately. Stay calm, I whispered, but even as I said it, my voice was shaking. The door creaked open an inch, and I could see the shadow of a figure looming just beyond the threshold, tall, thin, and impossibly still. Then it moved. The figure stepped into the kitchen, and I finally saw it clearly. Pale, gaunt face, eyes that seemed to glow in the dim light, and a grin that made my stomach twist. I screamed. Leah screamed. The figure lunged. We bolted toward the living room, throwing furniture and chairs in its path. The sounds of heavy footsteps chasing us filled the house, echoing off the walls. It was no longer a prank, no longer a shadow. This was real. We slammed the front door behind us and barricaded it with a chair. For a few minutes, everything was silent. I sank to the floor, shaking, and tried to catch my breath. Leah was crouched beside me, whispering that maybe it had gone away. Maybe it had just been a thief or some crazy drifter. But deep down, we both knew it wasn't ordinary. The living room felt safer somehow. We huddled together under a blanket, the TV long forgotten. The wind outside had picked up, rattling the windows, but at least there were no footsteps, no tapping, no dragging. For a short while, we almost believed we were okay. Almost. And then I noticed something chilling. The sliding glass door leading to the backyard, the one we hadn't locked properly in our panic, was slightly ajar. A cold shiver ran down my spine. Whatever had been chasing us wasn't gone. We froze, staring at the sliding door. Then, a hand. Pale, long fingers gripping the edge. Leah gasped, and I felt my stomach drop. I knew there was no way to run. The front door was blocked, and the back door wasn't fully closed. The figure stepped inside. This time I could see every detail. Its eyes were wide, unblinking, and black around the edges. Its grin stretched too far, like it didn't belong to a human face. I grabbed Leah's arm. "We have to move," I whispered. We bolted to the staircase, hoping to get upstairs. The figure followed, moving with impossible speed, silent except for the faint, dragging sound of its feet. At the top of the stairs, we split up. Leah ran into her bedroom and slammed the door. I ducked into the hall closet, holding my breath, listening as it prowled the hallway, sniffing, searching, listening. Every second felt like an eternity. Then, it stopped. I didn't dare move. I didn't dare breathe. And that's when I heard it whisper my name. Eventually, we heard sirens in the distance. Someone, and our neighbors, finally noticing the commotion, had called the police. The figure vanished before they arrived. Leah and I ran to the living room where officers were already searching the house. We told them everything: the footsteps, the hand at the glass, the whispering. They took notes, asked questions, but by the time the search ended, there was no sign of the intruder. We were exhausted, terrified, and still shaking. Leah's parents were called home, worried and confused, but we could barely speak. We weren't sure if anyone would believe what had happened. Days later, we learned from the police that a man had been spotted in the area for weeks, breaking into abandoned houses and terrifying people. No one knew his full identity, and he was never caught. Even now, every time I hear a branch snap outside or see a shadow move in the corner of my eye, I remember that night. And I know, somewhere out there, he's still watching. And sometimes when the wind howls just right, I swear I can still hear those footsteps, pacing just outside my bedroom window.